It has been such a surreal season, a season that I know there's a few people out there that are going to say, they predicted maybe playoffs, they predicted a winning record. I didn't predict anything over right around 500. So for most of us, right now, we're playing with house money. Now, does that mean that we don't want to win now because you get the taste of winning and you're like, I want more, I want more, I want more, and your belief keeps going? Sure. But hands down, we're playing with house money. And after that Packer win in the wild card round, I mean, right now it's like it's just icing on the cake. We can't go without mentioning the fact that we are 40 years now from when the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl. Their first and only Super Bowl. They had won championships, but their first Super Bowl once it hit the Super Bowl era. And that was 1985. And I was born in March of 1985, which means they played the Super Bowl in February of 86. So I wasn't even 1 years old yet. And in the NFC Championship game, they played the Rams. And here we are 40 years later. They played the Rams at home and they won 24-0. Now, I'm not saying I do not expect that to happen this coming Sunday. But for kind of a full circle thing, for a team that has given the city of Chicago probably the amount of hope right now that the 85 Bears did back then, and to come full circle and be playing the Rams this coming Sunday in the divisional round, not the championship round, but the divisional round, there still seems to be something very destiny like or universe like at work here. These are two phenomenal teams in two totally different ways. I at first thought the Bears were just lucky, like early on when they had some of these comebacks and things. I was, the first couple, because as a Bears fan, you're not really going to believe off the bat, anyways. We've had so many bad seasons. And if it's not one thing, it's another, right? It's like we're constantly changing head coaches. So then you're constantly changing assistant coaches and everyone around it, or okay, like your head coach stays, but then your defensive coordinator leaves. Or okay, your coaching staff hangs around for a little while, but then you go through however many quarterbacks because no one can get it done. And the Bears never, ever seem to have a franchise quarterback. Usually it's the defense that carries us. But then we had a decent offense. Actually, we had a really good offense with Matt Nagy when we made the playoffs in 2018. And our defense was the one that was struggling. So it's always something with the Bears. Like they cannot get it right. So I think any Bears fan this year that felt like, eh, like it's nice, like it feels good to have a comeback and you get a couple wins built up and you're like, okay, we have like 4 wins, like this is going really well, but you still don't really believe it, you just think there's some luck in it, but then at some point it just had to switch for me. And I'm not gonna lie, it took a while to really, really kick in for me this season. It took until we beat the Packers at home in the regular season, which was not that long ago. That was December. So it took almost the whole season. And that was the game that I said, there's some kind of magic. I don't know what it is. There's something about this team, but this team can be down 30 points. And my belief is not going to stop. Like my belief is not going to stop until that clock stops. So, the Bears are kind of that, and they're confusing to figure out because they have a lot of weaknesses. The defense allows a lot of yards, typically play really good in the red zone, but then they've had games that they've allowed teams to like score huge, a huge amount of points on them. Offense, same thing. They can't really start fast. Couple games they've started pretty quick. Typically, they don't even wake up until the second half. So the Bears have weaknesses and they're confusing in a lot of ways, but they however they get it done, they get it done, and I'm not going to say it's luck anymore. The Rams, on the other hand, are a sound, well-oiled machine. You know, McVay has been doing this with that team since he got there. They've had success since they got there before Stafford. Then you bring in a guy like Stafford who had all the talent, who had the best fantasy stats for years in Detroit. Because if he was your fantasy quarterback, you were happy, but Detroit wasn't winning back then. And so, the Rams, but they bring him in. He works with McVay. All of a sudden, they win a Super Bowl, and they always have a consistent running game. They always have some sort of wide receiver that isn't really built the way you'd be like, he's going to be a beast, and he beasts out. Which again, I would say a lot of that is McVay's system. And then they have had defenses that are very strong, typically a little stronger up front. I won't say they typically have a secondary that is super threatening, although they've had some good secondaries since McVay's been there. But they're the type of team right now with what McVay has built over the years that you expect them to be good. You expect them to be in the conversation. You expect them to be in the playoffs. So that's what I mean when I'm saying these are two good teams. They proved they're good this year, both of them, just in very different ways. And that means this game is probably going to be another crazy spectacle in some way. Los Angeles longer than I actually lived in Chicago, though Chicago's home or Chicagoland area is home because it's where I grew up. So home will always be home. Like where you grew up just has a different it makes you who you are. I'm a Midwest girl. I'm a Chicago girl. Anyone who knows me knows that LA didn't change me. I didn't get a big head. I didn't, become this different person. Chicago made me who I am. And it is that Midwest grind. It is that very down to earth, humble, work hard, keep your head down type of grind. When I talked about Chicago making me who I was as I grew up and giving me this foundation, LA made me the adult that I am. LA was the place that it turned me. I went from a young woman to a woman. Why this football matchup is so meaningful to me is because it's my two favorite places in the world, the two places that made me literally the person I am, with all the great things about me and all the faults, because there's plenty. And I get to see it come together in this like magical football game.